When adding fractions, if they have a same denominator, we call these like fractions. If they have the same denominator, then adding them is really easy. It's, well, you just add the numerators. 1/7 plus 3/7 is 4/7. We keep the denominator the same. We really start to think of the denominator as kind of a unit. It's the things we're counting. We have so many sevenths over here, and we have so many sevenths over here, and when we add them together, 1 plus 3 is 4. We have 4/7. Of course, we'd want to check that and make sure the result is in lowest terms. 7 is prime, and it doesn't go into 4, so we're in lowest terms. The same thing works for subtraction. If they both already have a denominator of 6, that means I can just subtract the numerators. 5 minus 9 is -4, so we end up with -4/6. At this point, I don't want to reduce my fraction, so I'll call this -2/3. Now, with this negative, it started out in the top here because 5 minus 9 is -4. But pretty quickly, I tend to put my negatives down in front of the fraction. It actually doesn't really make any big difference if it's in front of the fraction or up top. If you remember your rules for division of division with negative numbers, if you take if both numbers are positive when you do division, the result is going to end up being positive. But if if one of the two numbers is negative, so either we take positive divided by negative or negative divided by positive, the result is negative. And then lastly, if you take a negative number divided by negative, we end up with a positive. Ultimately, the way to simplify all this is to kind of say, you count up the number of negative signs, and as long as the number of negative signs is even, so either 0 or 2 negatives, the result is going to be positive. If the number of negative signs is odd, well, in this case, if it's 1, because you're not going to have 3 negatives here, the result would end up being negative. Now, this would be, if you had, let's say, the opposite of -2 over -3. Okay, this is, well, yeah, whatever. Let's change the numbers here so you don't think it's related to that problem up above. If you had the opposite of -2 over -5 and you're trying to figure out how to simplify this, there's 1, 2, 3 negatives. The result is going to end up being negative because that's an odd number of negatives here. We get -2/5. It doesn't actually matter if I put that negative here or if I put it here. Technically, it doesn't matter if I put it down below on the fraction either, but it's kind of weird dividing by a negative number, so we tend not to do that one. But it is technically equal to the others. I would just start here. I would end with one of these two, and I think, well, I know the computer will accept, whenever it's a negative fraction, it'll accept either of those forms, whether if you have the negative up top in the fraction or in front of the fraction.